Hi guys, my name is Dan Grover and I'm from the SUIS Pudong Academy. I'm excited to tell you a little bit about what we do here with project-based learning in a Chinese context, specifically, again, here in Shanghai. So first, let me tell you a little bit about maybe some of the differences in teaching here in China than maybe where you're from. China is still a very strongly family-centered society. So what this means is that the families are still making a lot of the decisions for the students. They're deciding where they're studying, where they will apply to for university, whether it's national or international, what they will study. So whereas my mom might say, follow your bliss, play the saxophone, a parent here might say, do finance. Study accounting so you can join the family company. Study internationally because we have international connections that we want you to work with. And then families, again, will continue to make decisions for them throughout their professional life, whether it's how they're using their salary, whether it's kind of controlling the properties that are eventually brought. So a lot of the properties, the apartments, the houses are controlled by the family, not by an individual. So within this context, that means that education, the role of education is a little bit different. Whereas again, I might be doing it to explore my bliss. A student here is doing it much more functionally. How is education going to lead to a career that will support the family? And that means they're making very different decisions than us. So another difference in working here in China is just the number of students and the number of people in general. A lot of students means that in the public school system, which is where many of our students are coming from, they were in classes of 50 students, maybe 60 students, and that the teachers are using traditional teaching methods where they're often up on a stage at the front of the classroom. They're doing direct teaching, having students read aloud from books, and they're assessing students based off of their ability to memorize facts, do exemplar problems in math and science, and be able to reproduce large amounts of text sometimes. So there are right answers and there are wrong answers to everything. Many of the students that we get here at the SUIS Pudong Academy were not successful in that situation. They are students who need to talk to learn, discuss things to learn, need to work with others to learn, or maybe they're students who have difficulty focusing because a traditional Chinese public school system means that students need to be able to sit like sponges quietly all day, go home and then memorize. So because our students didn't quite fit, were unable to adapt to that learning environment, they've either developed negative academic habits, or because maybe their teachers have been telling them that they're bad students over and over, they've begun to internalize that. And some of their behaviors are starting to become counterproductive to learning. Okay, so here at SUIS Pudong Academy, we've got a bunch of these guys, and we were struggling with how can we prepare them for international schools. And that's essential because if they're not able to get into one of the elite Chinese schools, that leads to the career that their families want. An alternative is to go abroad, a UK top 30, a US top 100. It might not be equivalent, but it's close in the advantages that it will provide the student and their family. So we're trying to get them re-engaged with education, and we've picked project-based learning as our main teaching methodology. Project-based learning, again, is different from other student-centered styles. One of the key differences is that instead of teaching, then do a project, project-based learning is provide a driving question that's locally relevant, and then work in a group to learn the knowledge while you're doing the project. So you're doing the learning through the project rather than the project after the learning. The second difference is that group characteristic. Students do most of the project in small to medium-sized groups. So they have to work on collaboration, delegation, and they will form some kind of a a group contract at the beginning to hold each other accountable. And that's not to say that the teacher's not involved. Teachers are still facilitating, and we're still doing formative assessments. And if students start to fall behind, we may do tutorials, grab a group, or we may do a little bit of direct teaching with the class. And then a third difference is at the very end of the project, students are going to, in the culmination, present their results. And when they do that, they are choosing how they're showing that knowledge. So it could be in a more traditional format, like a paper, a report, or a PPT presentation. But it could also be through visual and performing arts, through posters. Currently, because rap is super popular, a lot of our science students are now composing rap songs to demonstrate scientific knowledge. So an example of how we've used project-based learning in the past 2 months would be our environmental science project that ended the year. We had a driving question: how do we as environmental scientists monitor water quality in our city rivers? So it was locally relevant. Students worked in groups to learn about the background of our city rivers, and they came up with initial ideas for how they might test the environment. Then we went on a field trip to the hydrology labs here in Shanghai, and the nice people there gave us the whole day where we could wander around in our groups and interview different scientists and learn about what tests they did, how to do them, and some of the background knowledge. Students came back, they put it all together, and then they presented to us and to those scientists again on ways that we can monitor our water quality here in Shanghai. And so again, some of them did those through posters, some of them did them through presentations. Our results overall, by using project-based learning, have been good, but there are also some challenges. The best part is we've seen an increase in our grade point average. So our US grade point average, based off of 4, where 4 is an A. We 3 years ago in 2018 had an average of 2.66. So think mid to upper 70s. In 2019, that average went up to 3.1. So that means we're now getting in the mid 80s. And this last year, our average grade point average is a 3.21. And so that means we're now starting to get into those upper 80s. And that's fantastic. So we've seen a regular improvement in our grade point average. We also have seen an improvement in our student management and pastoral care. Our students in the past, 2 to 3 suspensions per semester, we're now down to 1 to 2. And whereas we used to have 1 expulsion, we don't have any anymore. So we've seen improvements in our grade point average. We've also seen improvements in our student management and our student care. But we still do have some challenges. Our main challenge is that although we do see an improvement in our course grades, it's not always translating to our external exams. Whether it's our IELTS, TOEFL, and other English language proficiency exams, those aren't improving as much as our course grade, or whether it's our external US SAT and ACT exams, those are also not improving as much as our course grades. One of the reasons might be that we're taking these students who were not successful in a traditional system, and then we're just putting them right back into that type of a testing environment. So we could be seeing some of that affecting our results. Another major challenge that we're having in implementing this is although we are seeing improvements, to switch from a structured system, a structured style of learning the students are used to a semi-structured, to almost unstructured, we're having to include specific training, more specific training on these learning skills than we expected. So our students need to be trained how to work in groups. They're used to overnight homework. We're now having to prepare them to do week-long homework, 2-week homework, month-long homework through these projects. Our students are used to having correct answers. There are right answers and wrong answers. In project-based learning, we want students to learn to think critically, creatively. We've had to re-examine what does it mean to be a critical thinker and creative thinker, and to teach that. So for us, now we can very clearly define critical and creative thinking is asking questions, being able to identify perspectives, so the ways we understand the world. For example, the way a physicist might understand the world is a little bit different than an environmental scientist, or an anthropologist versus a psychologist. Each provides a different perspective. And then, like a jazz musician, being able to either pick the correct perspective or try out different perspectives to understand problems in new ways, or to combine perspectives to come up with new, unique solutions or ways to see issues. So these are some of the things that we're working on with our students so that we can have even more success. So what I've talked with you about today is some of the things that we do here at our secondary school in Shanghai with our students. Our students, although some of them would do fantastic in any school system, many of them struggled in the traditional system. And what we're doing is we're using project-based learning as a way to re-engage them with academics, enjoy learning, and to develop some of those skills so that they can be successful for both themselves and their family's future. Thanks so much. I look forward to continuing this conversation with everybody.